Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother normally talk about hockey. Charlie's not here, so Dan's joined us, but we talk about the National Ice Hockey League, and it is week 18, I believe, which has just gone past. So no Charlie in this little bit unless he joins. He's out for a meeting at the moment, a little coffee. But Dan, you're back after last weekend. I may have given you a bit of an illness, but yeah, you've recovered.
Yeah, no, thank God for that. Anyway, I don't want to go through that again. Um, I was on the podcast obviously before talking about how I felt bad for you, and then I go through it. So I really felt bad for you.
Yeah, it sounded like yours was actually a proper illness rather than maybe just a food poisoning. And it probably
Oh
didn't
yeah,
help that you were with me for a whole day whilst I was just throwing up. So, but yeah, we've all recovered now. I'm actually feeling a bit rough this evening. It's just got to this evening. I'm feeling a bit rough, but we're still going to go with it. And we do, I think, have Will Stead who's going to join us on this episode. I think me and Charlie are going to interview him tomorrow. So this will come out either Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning. So hopefully, yeah, the interview of Will Stead goes all right. Hopefully it goes ahead. If it hasn't, we'll try and get him on at some point. But he has said that he'd hop back on because he come on the podcast. I think it's one of our first guests actually in the Bees special a couple seasons ago. So yeah, really nice guy, and we'll cut to that in a bit. But the news, Dan, and we'll start with the GB under 20s. And let's just say it went out with a bang. No, not with any medals. Now GB under 20s, I think they had to beat Romania in the last game to take the bronze, and Romania got over the line. I think they won 2-1. GB did give it everything, but again, they just lacked that final touch, I think, and just couldn't quite get used to each other across those 5 games. And there's a lot that goes into it, and they don't get much preparation. But the main talking point coming out of it, Dan, was what happened at the end of the game. And I think Romania started it. From what it looks like on the video, the Romania coach sent out all the players, and the Romania guy took down the GB guy, and it just was chaos from there, Dan. And we know Archie Salisbury likes to drop him in the men's league. Well, he sparked a few of those Romanians, doesn't he? He showed them a lesson, didn't he? I think he took on about 3 of them during that scuffle.
yeah. He showed him some men's play. I think I mean at least Britain are leading in the Pims for the tournament. I think that's one thing that we can take away from that. Um, But yeah, I think it was just frustration sort of boiling over from the whole tournament in the end. I think it's always tough. You got young guys there. They're obviously coming together representing their country and they want to win. And I think sometimes if you don't get those wins, it can get to you. And I think at the end of that game it just boiled over and just sort of all went a bit chaotic.
I was watching the game. It was heating up as the buzzer was about to go, and you just knew it was gonna go crazy. And Dylan Lipsy, I think, dropped someone as well. So shout out Dylan. And there's a few others. I think Billy Thorpe got involved from Peterborough. So yeah, just a bit of a weird ending. It was always gonna come. But yeah, not a great tournament for the standards which I think people set on GB. But it's always going to be tough with a lot of new players coming in this year, playing for the first time. And you got to think the likes of Brindley Caps. I think that's his first time playing for the 18s. Think what he's going to be like in a couple of years. I know he got a few goals. So yeah, but it will be the last. Well, that was the last tournament for quite a few of those lads. I think Josh's one, which we know. I think that was his last tournament. So yeah, that ended in style. But back to the National League. Bailey Harewood got a. We talked about his rugby tackle on Tom Norton, the WWE move, and he did get a ban. He got 2 games for that in the end. I think it was 1 game and then maybe penalty points, or it might have been 2 games.
Yeah,
But
I
he
think it was a
served.
penalty points one.
Yeah, he served that 1 game against Leeds on the Saturday. I was surprised he didn't get maybe a few more just because of he threw a few punches afterwards as well. But 2 games he got. And then who was the other one? Dan Cam Huff got a game as well. So
Mm.
he missed the Saturday. But the main news was also coming out of Bristol. Nick Price leaving to go and get an opportunity back home, I think in Canada. So obviously he had the year out of hockey, Dan, come back into it for the Pitbulls, and him and Bailey Hare would have really been carrying the points, haven't they? And yeah, I think what did he end on in the end? I think I don't know if he quite got he did get to that 50-point mark. Did he finish with more than Harewood before he left? I'm just checking now. So Bailey Harewood is uh just below Nick Price. So 56 points Nick Price got in 33 games, but that's a massive loss for Bristol, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I think you saw Nick Price come into this league, and you could tell that he had a year out. It was a bit slow getting started. Obviously, a new team as well, new country and stuff like that. So it's going to take its toll. But as soon as he started getting comfortable, I mean, he was lighting it up. Like he was the guy that you would noticeably see every game for Bristol that was really like dangerous. And as soon as he started getting that partnership with Harewood going as well, obviously we know what Harewood can bring. And if you can get two of them on their A game, you're always going to give Bristol a chance. And I mean, they've got an import lined up to replace him, and I think it's got to be a big import to replace Price. I think Price is really he really made a statement in that Bristol team. So I think, especially at this time of the season as well, I think this import has to be big, and it has to he has to jump straight into this league and make an impact.
Yeah, Price had the hard role of being the only import forward, and he seemed like he actually settled into that role kind of thing and took on a lot of that load. He must have chugged up about half an hour every single game. He was up and down the ice, so yes, big shoes to fill with Nick Price. I think listening to Barry McKenzie's interview, he said they have about three candidates, so they're narrowing it down. They didn't want to rush a decision just for this Leeds weekend and then have them for the rest of the season. So they obviously had Ales Padalek who come in for the weekend. 45 years old, I think, Ales Padalek. We know him from the Peterborough Phantoms. I think his jersey got retired there a month ago. So he stepped in for the weekend and he did get a point, which we'll talk about on the Sunday. But yeah, tough for Bristol, who are still in that playoff hunt. They're only a few points, especially with Solway not getting any points this weekend as well. So yeah, they've really got to pull something out of the bag with this signing. It has to be said, because currently they have no import forwards on their roster, Dan.
Yeah, and they've also got a few Brits out as well at the minute. Obviously, they're gonna get them back, but at the minute they're sort of they're looking a bit thin.
They only had nine forwards, I think, on the Saturday, so they definitely were looking a bit thin. Oh, and welcome back. We've got another special guest. He's returning for the second time, and I think it's been over a year now, Will, since we had you on. But you're back, so thanks for hopping back on again.
Yeah, so I think it was just when you started or near.
Yeah, it was literally we started it and we did the specials, and you were one of the first guests we had on. So yeah, still kicking around at the Bees. How's it gone? Obviously a big win on Sunday.
Yeah, last 2 weeks have been massive for us. Hoping for a turning point in the season, and then a big playoff push.
Yeah, and you've turned into the Bees of Etchkin this year. That's what happened.
Yeah, I got a few goals. The boys keep saying Will Hyman because they're all from the crease.
That's a good
That's a
comparison.
good one. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know about Ovechkin, but a few tap-ins on the goal line. But yeah, you got to get there, get them in there.
The thing is, people don't realize those are kind of the important goals. You can score all these highlight reel goals, but some of the most important ones are those greasy ones. So has that always been a part of your game, just getting in front of the net?
Yeah, I think having Ash this year and just getting more experience being older, Ash just wants everyone to go to the net. And that's where you score goals. So put the puck on the net and boys keep shooting the puck and just get in the dirty areas and get the puck home, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Go back to the start of the season then. Obviously, you had the roster signed up. You obviously had Dom and Gabai, Balaz and Gabai returning. Then you got Max Wright in as well, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. But you had your roster signed up, and then you went through that really tough patch of just not having enough players in the squad. How hard was that, knowing going into away games with seven forwards and four defensemen? Just how tough was that?
Yeah, it was tough. We kind of started the season off having, I think we only signed nine nine forwards, like
Mhm.
full-time forwards. And at the start of the season, we thought the points wise we were doing all right, but
Yeah.
no, points wise, the games wise we were doing all right, but we weren't really getting the points. But we were in every game, and
Yeah.
then we dropped about, I think it was Howes, Smithy, and Ads, Rosbottom. Three forwards were just gone in and around the same time, and then we were down to six. And having the two ways come in, it's not always guaranteed. So it was
Yeah.
playing like the likes of away games on big ices like Milton Keynes, Sheffield, with six guys. It's hard. We can do it in our own rink because it's small and we know how to play, but playing on them big ices with six forwards or seven forwards playing like 30, I think at one game I played like 35 minutes of ice time, I think. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's just crazy. Like
Hmm.
Do
But
you think?
yeah,
Go on,
go on.
Charlie. I was gonna say, do you think that was one of the toughest kind of patches you've had playing for the Bees? Because it's got to be some of the lowest squad numbers you've had since when you started playing for the Bracknell Bees.
Yeah, it was like that last year. We had a lot of guys signed, and
Yeah.
the year before it was kind of similar. We had a similar circumstance where we were struggling for players as well. I think the player pool around our area isn't great, especially with us losing a junior club was in Bracknell. It wasn't great, and then it kind of helped us out with Bison team folding for the year. So last year we had a few guys, and then this year we've struggled again, I think, but. I think the idea was to sign some two ways so we wouldn't have that issue. But it's difficult having players come in and out because you kind of want the same core team, having the same rhythm, playing every week. And having two guys come in and out kind of affects things. But
Yeah.
I think we've signed a few guys now and they've looked like some good additions. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say once you've kind of got the numbers rolling, you've kind of proven to everyone in the league, yeah, you can't come to Slough and turn us over. We're a tough place to play.
yeah.
What's so special about that Slough ring? Because it is a very tough ring to play in.
Well, yeah. Before I come to Slough. I used to prefer big ice back in Bracknell, nice big ice, and now I just hate playing on the big pads. I like the small ones. It's just knowing how to play there, knowing to play the right systems. We all play the right way. It gives a lot of skilled kind of guys less time on the puck, so it kind of benefits the kind of team we are. And so as long as we can play that way in the rink, then there's no reason why we shouldn't. Considering we just beat Leeds and MK last two weekends. There's no reason we should lose in that rink.
I think that's exactly what Morris said when we had him on. He said, I used to prefer the big rinks, and now playing on the Slough rink, I actually prefer playing on the smaller ones. How's it been for you then? Because obviously, you've played 31 games pretty much most of the games this season. You talked about that stage where you were playing 30, 35 minutes a night. How's the season been for you personally? How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's good. I kind of said in the summer, I wanted to stick to playing forward because I kind of knew
Yeah.
what role I could have as a forward, and just mixing between D and forward over the 2 years before. I think last year kind of, I wouldn't say lost interest, but it kind of like affected me because I much prefer playing as a forward. So I
Yeah.
kind of had the chat in the summer. I was like, I only want to play forward because I kind of know what role I can bring, and Dom and Ash and Shep said that's fine and kind of trusted me to what I was kind of telling them. So I had a big summer and kind of this year, um, it's kind of benefited with all the goals I've kind of scored. But yeah,
Was there anything you did in the off season, knowing that because the Bees actually signed quite a few defensemen in this season? Obviously, Mitchell coming in, Kelly coming in as well from his injury. You also had Preston as well come in for his first season. So knowing that you were going to be the forward for the whole season, was there anything you worked on in the off season?
yeah, it kind of gave me a bit of extra motivation. Like talking to Shep over the summer, I knew that I had to come to the start of the season fit and ready.
Yeah.
I was in the gym quite a lot. Using I was down at the Ozone using Rupert Quinney's gym,
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah,
and I had a little plan of him, and which really helped me. I've kind of it's probably the fittest I've ever been coming into a start of a season, so yeah, proper helped me over the summer.
yeah,
Hmm. And we'll bring him up because I think he's He's been a man who's probably taken a lot of the light from Bees in them big wins, and that's Max Wright. It was obviously the league's first import goalie. I think he was the first one announced, wasn't he? Max Wright. Or either way, he was one of the first import goalies in this National League. And to me, I think he's probably been the one, in my personal opinion, who's impressed me the most. What is it about Max Wright? Because he doesn't really seem to have a bad game, does he?
He's just he's I personally looking at all the goalies, I might be biased, but I think he's probably the best goalie in the league.
Dan said that on the when we were
Yeah.
recording yesterday.
I think obviously people look at save percentage stats, but I looked at the amount of shots he's had compared to the other like goalies in the league and his save percentage, and I think we kind of let him down well, when we were struggling for forwards.
Yeah.
If we can keep all the shots out and no like two on letting 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s every week, if we can keep the shots wide, I think he's saving most of them. Even if they're decent scoring opportunities, he's saving it. So as long as we're stopping the 2-on-1s, the 2-on-0s, the breakaways, I think it's pretty hard to get past him, if I'm honest.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
we went to that rink.
He had that one game, I think it
Oh,
was 59 saves, and then he saved all 4 shootouts. And it was actually you, Will, who scored the bloody winning penalty against us. So cheers for that, mate.
That's my
That was unbelievable, though. I think you only had 7 forwards and 5D that game. So it just shows in your rink, you can just turn anyone over. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
Yeah, we just got to make sure now, even with a full roster, with 9 forwards, 8, 10, 11 forwards, and 6D, we need to make sure we're playing the same way against every team, no matter if they're Telford, or, like Bristol, the teams around us, or MK and Leeds, who we played last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's kind of the feeling now? Because obviously, it wouldn't have been the start you expected as a team. You wanted to continue on the playoff push, but that is not out of the window. I'm 100% not saying that. But you're the underdogs now. You are the underdogs, and you're 19 points. Obviously, you're looking at 11 points behind Solway, but we know how crazy the National League can be. How, as a player, do you kind of take on that challenge of? I think there's 20 games left of the season.
Yeah, we got to just look at it as the next game. We've got to win the next game, the game after. I wouldn't lie, I've looked at the fixtures, and a lot of the fixtures are teams that we around us, like the Bristols, the Solways, the Telfords, Raiders. We've got to play them guys, Peterborough. We've got to play them guys a lot. So I think we've done a lot of the teams at the top of the table, but we need to make sure we're beating the teams that we're trying to catch, not just turning up when we're playing Leeds or turning up when we're playing MK. Like, I don't know if it's an extra motivation or the way that we play, but we need to make sure we play the same against every team.
It's an interesting point, actually, because you've got, as you said, you've got those 3 games against Leeds out of the way. You've won 2 of those at home. You've got the Milton Keynes ones out of the way as well. And I think you've only got 1 more against Swindon. So it is going to be a big battle. And what's it been like having Ash Tate come in? I know he's not doing all the games. I think he's doing pretty much all the home games and then maybe some of the close away ones. But what's it like having someone like him come in and take the pressure a bit off Dom as well?
I think he's done every game other than the Solway weekend.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was it Solway? No, he was there Solway, and it was New Year's around Christmas time. He wasn't there, but he's pretty much doing.
He wasn't at the Romford game, I don't
Yeah,
think.
yeah. So he's done pretty much. He's pretty much done most of the game.
Okay, yeah.
But his he brings a lot of structure, a lot of different way of playing. It means Dom's got more time to focus on kind of playing, and Ash has got more time to speak to the guys around us. I think that was a bit of an issue. It was kind of Dom's first year coaching, player coaching, and it must be hard to have to try playing and also try coach guys, kind of tell guys, keep the bench going or whatever he needs to do. So bringing Ash in's kind of made I think a big difference, but might not show it with the table wise, but I think that's just because we had that period where we were really struggling for guys, and the guys we've brought in now, we're hoping that will make a difference.
Well, the two main ones you brought in recently, obviously we know Jacob Ransom, we've had him on, really nice guy, and I think we said when he first signed, he just suits the Bees, just hard work. He can play forward or D like you've done, like Morris has done. He can play anywhere in the lineup, and it seems like he's really had a just fit in straight away with the team.
Jacob's a good guy. I kind of knew him a little bit before. He's perfect because he's a perfect guy to have. He brings energy and in the small rink as well. Yeah, it's easy for him as well. But yeah, definitely he's going to help us out. I think every kind of player has a role to play. So I think we were kind of when we were only having six kind of forwards, it was tough like to have them. We need the guys on the second, third line to like bring the energy and stuff. So it's good to have him. I think obviously we brought in Rouse as well and Josh Martin.
He's been good, Ralph.
Yeah, I was going to say it seems like he's kind of just screwed on now with focusing on the hockey, and we're seeing like the best of him at the moment. Obviously, back-to-back 3-point games, I think, against Leeds and MK. It's not too bad.
Yeah, he had there's a lot of I didn't know him personally before. I never really had a problem with him before. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of stuff around him, but honestly, in the room, he's been a good guy in the room, and on the ice is paying off, and he's obviously a really good player. So he's quite funny. He's got a bit of showmanship about him as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of when you got them guys on your team, it's different. But when you're playing against them, you tend to not like them. But you get a lot of players like that.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
so many in the league.
Yeah, I
And
think Mo. I used to hate playing against Mo.
Charlie hated him.
I hated
Yeah,
him. He's my least favorite player in the league.
I hated playing against them every week again in Basingstoke. We just didn't go on, and then you just see a different side to the guy off the ice and when they're on your team. It's a good guy to have on the team. But yeah, Ralph brings that extra bit of kind of skill and that goal scoring ability. So we're hoping he's going to be help us is because obviously Vanny's joined you boys. So
Yeah, what can you say about Vanny? Obviously, we watched him for the first time this weekend. He's so smart, and he's just hockey smart.
I
Charlie
think
calls him the mini Malas in the way he just always stick lifting, and yeah, what can we expect from him?
yeah, we just needed to get rid of our dead word and we can start. We can get 2 wins. No,
It is weird how hockey works, isn't it?
nah, yeah, he's oh no, Vanny. I've known him since I was a kid. He's a quality player and he's a great guy. It's tough losing him because we just kind of got Rouse and it would have been nice to have him and Rouse on our team. But I've spoke to him and he's told me his reasons and stuff. But yeah, he's a when it on his day, like when he picks a puck up and he just does things, and you're like, how the hell has he kind of done that? And he just when he's skating at you and his speed, and when he turns, is and he's such a smart hockey player. And he's good to play with, but yeah, it's unfortunate he's kind of gone to you guys, but I suppose
Be a good battle when you get to play against him. I'm sure.
yeah, I might have to
In
give
that
him,
extra bit of effort to try and get that win over him.
yeah, I might have to give him a few slashes or something and round it out.
Oh,
Um,
but
Go on, Charlie.
any personal goals on the eye? I know you never normally like. Remember when we had you on last time? But is it just to kind of keep the goal scoring format? You got just to put it in context. I don't know if you know this or not. You're the second highest goal scoring Britain, the Bees team. You're second highest goal scorer in the Bees team behind Ballas. So you're playing a very important role with the goals this year. Any goals you've got personally?
I haven't got any personal goals, but I would like a few more assists because I only got like seven. It makes me
Seven, yeah.
selfish. But yeah, just no personal goals. Just want to keep kind of putting the puck away, and hopefully, helps our team get to a big playoff push.
Well, when Goodbye's got 34 assists, it doesn't look too bad because he's kind of feeding you in the slot. How good's Dom? Because I know we've spoken to him so much over the years, but I actually think he doesn't really get talked about too much as one of the best players in the league, and he's probably one of my favourite players. Just the way he plays, his build, how he can play at both ends of the ice as well. What's it like playing alongside him? Because I think you've been on his line a bit this season as well.
Yeah, I've played with Dom all year, which has been good. I think he's I don't know what it is, but a lot of fans or teams I don't know if he's not talked about enough about being one of the best imports in the league. I think this year he probably knows himself he had a bit of a slower start than to like his standards normally, but he's got a lot of assists, and I think he was struggling at the start to kind of put the puck away. Like I've seen him sometimes the opportunities had it like most of the time. Sometimes I think every breakaway he normally scores, and then he was struggling a bit at the start of the year, but I think about 6 weeks ago, he really turned it on, and we're seeing the best of Dom. So yeah.
I think Ed said to me, Ed Bradley said to me, Dom's one of the best players he's played with, and
Yeah.
he's going to be massive for you guys. I think, and obviously Balaz as well. Me and Charlie and Dan were wondering, is he going to be able to keep that point scoring form, and he's still smashing them in this year. It's nuts to think they're what mid to late 30s, and they're still putting in these goals.
Bally likes to tell us he's 22, but I think he's like 37 or something.
Pulling out 22-year-old celebrations against them.
Oh, look at these slides.
He done that. He did that last year, and I think it was an OT winner. I can't remember, but he did that as well. And I wasn't expecting him to do it on the weekend, but yeah, he's funny. He's a good guy as well. But yeah, he's. I think Dom's a bit younger, but he's still like up and down both ends of the ice when like
Yeah.
putting a shift in. He doesn't mind like the kind of tough side of the game and stuff. So I mean, they're both very different players, but they're both going to help us hopefully for the rest of the season.
When you were going through that tough part, who was the guy in the locker room who was just keeping the spirits up and knowing it's not going to last for ages? You will be able to get some guys in eventually.
Uh, I think everyone was trying to be positive. The whole season, all we do is try to be positive. And we don't. I think the big thing with us this year is no negativity on the bench. We want to keep like everything positive. So it's been good that way, even though it's been tough and we've been in like some bad situations. But we've been trying to look at the positives and keep pushing.
Yeah. Go on, Charlie. You got any more before you end with your question?
Yeah, just I like the Bees. I support you guys. Not you're obviously not my main team, but you've always been one of them teams.
Two teams, is that a thing? Or?
No, not two teams. But I like seeing the Bees do well because I think you're always underdogs every season, and I think you always kind of have that chip under your sleeve. You always upset the big teams. So keep doing what you're doing, apart from against Swindon. To be fair,
I think I've noticed as well. You've got quite the fans recently have actually been like buzzing. I saw the video of Rouse when he was chucking the hat out and everyone going mental when you're beating MK and Leeds. Those moments where you do beat one of the top teams, which shouldn't really be beating you, shouldn't be losing to. Sorry. How good does that feel as a team as with the fans as well?
Yeah, the fans have been, I think, year on year, we've been, since coming from Bracknell, I think we've been slowly, the owners doing a really good job of getting guys through the door. And I feel like it's getting louder. The atmosphere is getting better every season as well, which I think the fans are really trying to do, which is obviously helping us on the ice. And yeah, when we just got to keep pushing and hopefully we can get and repay them by getting a playoff spot.
Well, you've got a big weekend this weekend. As you said, Telford and Bristol, I think you've got this weekend. So, actually, no, it's Telford, and then you've got Bristol on that Friday. So I'm definitely going to be coming down on that Friday. So I'll be there. But what is your little message to those Bees fans? We always end with that question. I know I've said it, Charlie, but yeah.
Was that Charlie's to say?
That's Charlie's ending question. I've stolen it there.
I won't repeat it. You go for
it. Just to keep coming down the rink, keep supporting us. A big playoff push, and yeah, hopefully we'll see everyone there on. I think we got home game Saturday, so it's a massive game against Telford. Yeah.
Must be weird having a home game Saturday. You normally have them on the Sunday, don't you?
It's going to be like 3 in a row because we played Leeds at home and had a one game week. No, yeah, Leeds at home on Sunday, then played one game weekend.
Oh yeah.
And now we've got Telford, which is good because we need to kind of get some momentum going.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully Saturday.
Nice one. Good luck for the rest of the season. See how many goals you can hit by the end of it and see if you can get you a few more assists as well. Let's get into the games then. And there was no Friday game this week. There is one next week actually, Leeds versus Sheffield. But the first game of the weekend was actually the one we were all at. It was your return to the Link Centre after missing a week. And it was the Wildcats taking the 4-3 win against the Steel Dogs, and Vanya Antonov's debut. And we talked about him, me and Charlie, in the last episode, and how much of an impact he's going to have. And he started on that third line. I think I expected that, because the form we were in, the run we were on, you don't want to split the lines up, do you, Dan? I think it would be silly to split it up straight away just to put Vanya on. And he fit onto that third line, and I've got to say that's one of the best games I've seen Reed Sayers play as well, all-round game, because he had someone who was on his pace, who was on his wavelength. They were linking up really well. And yeah, Reed was unlucky actually not to score. I think he had 2 or 3 really big chances, but the impact of Vanya Antonov, Dan, you saw it. It's like he'd been in the team for months.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we were saying obviously at the rink as well. He's such a good complement player to
Yeah,
anyone he plays with. Like
anyone.
he's a guy that you can put on the first line, he'll make an impact. Second line, he'll make an impact. Third line, he'll make an impact. And that's such a big signing for Swindon, because if you can go into playoffs with a good amount of depth scoring and depth point getters, I mean, that's a perfect position for Swindon to be in going into playoffs. And I mean, by the time playoff comes, Vanya will be really comfortable in that Swindon team. And obviously, he had one training session under him at the minute.
Yeah, he had one training session. Yeah.
So once he gets a few drills going, gets sort of talking to Aaron, Aaron tells him what he wants from him and sort of stuff like that. I think you're going to see Vanya make a big impact on that team, and he's going to make an impact on the players he's with as well.
And he got the goal. He got his debut goal. You said he would do.
I knew it was coming.
When he signed for Basingstoke, he scored on his debut, and he said he's going to do it. And it was, gotta say, I know Vanya, great calm finish, but the pass from Tyler Plews, actually, it all started with the Renimar save. Walker Sommer broke one away 1-on-1. Renimar made a big save. Then Plews just pulls out this tape to tape pass from his zone all the way up the ice, and Vanya Antonov just backhands it 5-0 through Dan Crow's legs, and it was just a great moment, wasn't it? The hug with Plews as well, and it seems like he's already fit in the dressing room, and it's hard not to fit in the Wildcats dressing room, isn't it, Dan? Because they're just so tight knit, and they've been together for so many years.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing with Swindon is they're a team that wants to win, and Vanya wants to win. So he's going into that locker room and he's having the exact same mindset as that whole Swindon team. So
Yeah,
he's in the perfect position for where he wants to be. And I mean, massive signing for Swindon. I think a lot of people are talking about it, but I think people aren't talking about it enough.
Yeah.
I think they don't realise how actually big of a signing that is for Swindon, because of the guys that they've got in that top 6 as well. So I think he's going to go a bit under the radar as well and sort of pick up those points that you don't really think about until you look at a game sheet after the game.
Yeah, and even like all the little stuff he does. Charlie calls it the mini Malas. Like he just reads the game so well. Aaron said in the interview afterwards, he's probably come in and he's already the smartest player on the team, the most skillful player on the team, and the stick lifts he does, even though he's quite a small player, he's so dangerous, and the forecheck as well, just hounding the defenseman. But it was also Jake Bricknell's night, and it's got to be said, he's the hottest player in the league. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Swindon fan, but he is just, every time he comes forward now, Dan, he just looks dangerous, and it feels like the puck's going to go in the back of the net. He got another hat trick, and they were 3 different goals, weren't they? The first one was a break down the left-hand side, and he did that exact play, but passed it to Billin the week before. But this time he just ripped it past Crow. Then he gets a wraparound with it was literally a buzzer beater, so quick, like so skillful to be able to bring it round in a second. And then the tipping goal in front of the net. And the tipping goal for me has just shown how far Bricknell's come, because he wasn't scoring those type of goals when he first come in, Dan. And he had that little patch where he was struggling, wasn't he? But he's now got used to the league, got used to being that top 6 forward, and he is thriving, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. And I mean, me and Charlie talk about it all the time, and we've spoke about it on the podcast before, but hockey and is such a mindset game. And I mean, coming in, new import to the league, new import to the team, you're obviously going to get a lot of people looking at you and stuff like that. And he comes in and he lights it up at the start. and then, like you said, he goes through that little phase where he just sort of looks a bit lost. And I think a lot of people can agree that he did look really like out of it, and I think he'd agree himself as well. And but I think going through a stage like that, I think it pushes a player on. And I think the way that Bricknell's reacted to that, I think, is perfect because, yeah, he's playing with so much confidence right now, and he's got a shot to back it up. So when he's going in on goal, you've seen what he can do. He can just snipe past anyone, and it's just that confidence of taking that shot. And like when he's going in net, he's like, "I'm shooting and I'm scoring now."
Yeah.
Like that's what he looks like right now. He's not even looking for a pass. Like he's just going for that goal, and he's taking them perfectly. And I mean, as an import, that's what you want. You want a guy that's going to finish, and especially on the line that he's on as well. You want a finisher, and yeah, he's fitting that role perfectly at the minute.
He's got 29 points in his last 10 games. It's just absolutely bonkers. And we'll talk about him again probably on the second game. But yeah, the Wildcats took that one, and I thought they defended it out really well at the start of the season. That game probably goes to overtime, doesn't it, Dan? And Rennie made some really big saves at the end there, so it just shows how far we've come. I know the Sunday was a bit different. We'll get onto that in a bit. The Peterborough Phantoms missing Cam Huff, with only Tom Norton and Buglas as your main two defensemen, the others juniors. It was looking like a very tough night for the Phantoms. Actually, sorry, Zay McKenzie stepped in at D, with Tom Norton on top lines, and he's obviously played with them a bit as well with that Nottingham link. But the Phantoms bring out a big 5-3 victory, and it's not easy to get a win down in Solway. And they were actually 2-0 up. Solway then got back and then took a lead 3-2. And then Duncan Spears, who I want to shout out for this weekend. I think he's had a brilliant weekend. It's probably one of his best weekends in a Phantom shirt. He got a goal and an assist. He then got another 2 points on the Sunday as well. But he tied it up at 3-3. And I think it was so important they got that quick response goal, because you don't want to just give Solway the momentum. And they got that quick equaliser and then a bit of chaos. A high stick, which I think was quite soft, actually. But Solway got the 4-minute penalty, and then it just went from bad to worse. They then flicked it out for delayed game. I'm not sure if it hit the glass stand. I don't know if you've seen it. They've
No, I
got
haven't
the
seen it.
YouTube highlights out. It's so hard to see, but it might have just touched the glass. So very unfortunate. And then Luke Ferrara, he's a big game player. In those big moments, Dan, he always steps up, and he scored the winner and then wrapped it up 5-3. And we've spoke about Luke Ferrara so much on this podcast, but again, just when the Phantoms need someone just to step up and win the game for him, he does it again without Cam Huff as well.
I know, and that's what he can bring to a team, and especially like you say, you've got a team there that is looking a bit thin. Especially they've got a few youngsters there. I think Jarvis Hunt also had a really good weekend.
Who's on top line? Yeah, top line centre.
I think he had a good weekend as well, and that's all you need. Where you need those guys to step up, and you know what Ferrara's going to bring. But there we go.
Always Sharks Cup. Sorry, I wanted to say that.
On topic. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you just need those guys to step up, and you've got Ferrara. You know what he's going to bring. When you've got no Huff, that's another scorer there that's not going to be in the lineup, and you do just need to come together as a team. And going up to Solway, like you say, is not an easy place to go, and especially on the Saturday when you obviously have that travel up there and you go straight into the game.
Hard,
it is tough to play that game because Solway are going to be straight on you. But I think getting that 2-goal lead for Peterborough, even though they gave it away, I think that was really important in the game as well.
Yeah, just setting the tone. And they got the first blood on that Saturday. And we'll get to the Sunday in a minute. But moving on to the Leeds Knights, and obviously they got their first 0-point weekend the week before, and I can't remember the last time that actually happened. It must have been 2 or 3 seasons ago. They were never losing that third in a row, Dan, especially against a depleted Bristol team, who obviously we spoke about. Nick Price left. No Harewood, so that's their top 2-point scorers not in the lineup. They've got a 45-year-old Padalek stepping in, and fair play for him. He brought a few of his Nottingham players, some of the junior players. So Big opportunities for them, but Leeds just getting the 7-0 shutout. And it's who you'd expect to be on the score sheet. Brown was on there, Howlett was on there, Noah McMullen getting a couple goals as well. We've had Noah on here, really nice guy, and then Ollie Endicott getting a goal. So just a comfortable win for the night. So I think we all expected that with the troubles which Bristol have had, Dan. So I
Oh
guess,
yeah,
is there anything else to add on that one?
I mean, yeah, you don't want to be Bristol in that situation.
Yeah, it's
But
tough.
you don't want to be the team that faces Leeds after their first 0 point weekend in about 2 years.
Yeah.
You know they're not going to really step down, and they're just going to keep scoring and scoring and scoring just so they can get a bit of morale going again. And yeah, I mean it's a perfect weekend for Leeds, but yeah, I wouldn't want to be Bristol.
Yeah, the 3 power play goals as well. So discipline's got to come into factors. I know sometimes you get tired, you can give those silly penalties away, but discipline has got to come into factors because you can't put those top teams on the power play. So a tough night in Bristol. Actually sold out that game, and they'll sell out next week. That's just the fan base that they are, and I love that that they'll come back, and hopefully they'll have a new import for next week to help them compete. So shout out for Leeds Knights. It was Sam Gospel in goal for that one, so that will add to his save percentage. And then a thriller at the Milton Keynes Arena, Planet Ice Milton Keynes, against the Hull Seahawks, and the Seahawks taking a 3-1 lead. Svet getting a penalty shot as well. And Headley made some really big saves at 3-1. I've watched the highlights. Hull had 3-4 chances, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, just to kill that game, get it to 4-1. Because getting that 3-goal lead, if you have a 2-goal lead, to make it a 3-goal lead means you can kind of kill off the game, doesn't it? But the 2-goal lead is always a dangerous one, and Swindon saw that on Sunday. It's always a dangerous lead, and they couldn't get that 4th goal, Dan. And Milton Keynes just come battling back. Norris getting a shot in, and Tim Wallace tipping it to tie it up. And then it went to overtime. It's a good point for Hull, but they'll be disappointed they didn't get it in regulation, and then Jordan County with a really nice finish to win it for the Lightning 4-3. And I think the Lightning needed that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And again, we've seen it again this season. Lightning just battle back into games. Like
They're doing
they
it at the
did.
moment. They are.
I mean, you don't normally see them having to do that at home,
Yeah.
but the fact that they're still doing it, obviously, Hull have actually, they're sort of a bit of a bogey team sometimes for MK at home.
Yeah.
They sort of know how to sort of go to MK. And yeah, I mean, getting that 3-1 lead is big, but like you say, you need to shut that game down, and it is always going to be tough in that MK arena because they're always going to be on top of you. But I mean, fair play to MK for coming back into that game and just taking it away from Hull, and I think that's going to be another big booster for MK. I know we
I,
will talk about Sunday, but
yeah. I want to say this. There's a lot of MK fans who taking the mick out of the way Hull were playing this slow defensive hockey. You've got to do that. You have to do that. Like, it's a compliment to Milton Keynes in a way that you have to play that way, because if Hull just play their offensive attacking style of hockey like they do in their home rink, because they're used to playing that, if you do that in Milton Keynes, MK are going to win that battle every single time because they've got the depth, they've got the players, they've got the speed. Hull have to play that slow, that scrappy game, Dan, don't they, to try and get a result. That's exactly what Swindon have to do, because we know we're an older team. You cannot go toe to toe with the only team who can do it is Leeds, and Milton Keynes still beat them. And if Hull play that toe to toe game, Milton Keynes win that, and that's why Hull have to play it. So that's what I'd have in response to some fans maybe complaining at the way Hull play. You have to play like that, Dan, don't you?
oh yeah, you have to go in with a game plan going
Yeah.
into MK. It's so hard to play in that rink, and if you go into that, like you say, if you go into that game without a game plan, you're going to lose every time
You
because
can't just go back and forth with them.
MK have a way of playing in that rink, and it will take over any team in this league. You have to go in with a totally different game plan to go into MK, and you've seen teams can do it. Swindon obviously did it, but it's never
Peterborough did it.
easy. even when you're going with a game plan, it's not going to be an easy win. Like you're never gonna. I don't think you're ever going to blow out MK in their own rink.
No, I don't think
It,
we will see MK getting blown
no,
out.
because it's just not possible. Like
No.
MK are so dominant in that rink, and yeah, you can't go into that rink without a game plan because you're going to get embarrassed.
It's a tough one for Hull because when you're 3-1 up, you do want to try and kill off the game. But I was speaking to Connor, and we'll get on to the Sunday game in a bit, but he was saying it is a point gained if you win the Sunday game, but if you lose the Sunday game, it's a point lost on that Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah, a big point for Hull, I think, in the end. And Milton Keynes just getting it over the line. But Sunday's results, we'll see. We'll talk about them in a second because we've got one more game for the Saturday, and again another goal fest thriller. The Telford Tigers finally getting a win under their belt, and boy, they needed this one. The Raiders going 4-1 up, and I know I just talked about Dan teams just needing that third goal ahead. Well, Raiders had that 4-1 up, but they kind of got that lead a bit too early, didn't they? They were 4-1 up after 25 minutes, and no, I'm joking. They didn't get it too early. They done well to get that 4-1 lead, but Telford Tigers getting 2 goals in what is that? 9 seconds. 2 goals in 9 seconds. You just cannot do that, can you? You cannot do that. And the Telford Tigers go on to win that game on a power play with less than 2 minutes to go. And I think the Raiders have just shot themselves in the foot there, losing 6-5 in the end.
yeah. Telford in that game did what Romford do best at home.
Yeah, they did a Romford on Romford.
Yeah, they score those quick goals. But I mean, if you look at Romford's goals as well, I'm pretty sure they were really quick. I
Yeah,
think they were like
5
only
minutes,
2 minutes.
7 minutes,
Yeah,
9
they were only
minutes.
2 minutes between them. So Romford did a Romford, and then Romford got Romford. But yeah, I mean, that's huge for Telford. I mean, they're a team as well that's been struggling in those games. Like when they're going down in games, they're struggling to shut it up. They're struggling to get the goals back. But that's a huge win for Telford. I mean, getting those quick goals. You in that rink, it's not the loudest of rinks in Telford, but they know how to play in their rink. So when they can get those quick goals and they get a bit of momentum shifted, they can sort of build on that. And I mean, I think Harding had a really good game. Harding's sort of grown into a bit of form recently.
Yeah, he got
And
2 goals. He got the game-winning goal as well on the power play.
yeah,
So a
so
really
that's
big
really
game
big.
for him.
And that's the thing. You've got guys like that this season that you look at them and they can do stuff like that, but they've just not really shown it this year. And
Yeah.
I think hopefully for Telford that's a big game for them and they can sort of start building on it. But
Again,
it's tough.
we say this a lot. It's all good winning a 6-5 game, but you can't do that every week.
No, you can't.
And
You can't rely on scoring more goals
no,
every time.
but
You
it
have to
must be
shut it off.
set. So, by the way, shout out to Silverthorne. Silverthorne played again, and he got on the score sheet. So just an absolute trooper is Jason Silverthorne coming into the team again. I have invited Charlie's coming to him. I have invited you, so you can join if you want.
Say hello.
Oh, we don't want this guy here.
Tired, but decent weekend for Swindon. Pretty happy. Can't complain. Played well at home. Decent away. Sean Miller's pretty sick. Bricknell's the go, and yeah, enjoy these two in the podcast. And I'll see you for the Will Stead interview.
Yeah, Charlie should be doing that one. But yeah, we'll Sean Miller. I mean, he's just carrying the Raiders' attack at the moment. And it is a bit of a theme. They are only getting goals at the moment from their top lines, and you can't rely on that all the time, Dan. You do need a bit of depth scoring to come in, don't you? And I know they've still got Leisham out, which is a bit of a loss. So they are missing that third import, but they are struggling a bit with that depth scoring.
Yeah, they are, and they're a team that in recent years they've actually had really good depth.
Yeah.
And they've had those guys that can score in the sort of deeper lines. But yeah, this season, they have relied a lot on that top line. And I mean, when they had Yokoyama as well, I mean, they can sort of level it out a little bit. You can
Yeah.
sort of they were getting a bit of scoring from that second line as well, and then you can sort of move people down onto the third line. But yeah, it's just they can't keep relying on that top line because it will get found out.
it's tough for them because they haven't got those Slough players on a full time. If
Yeah,
you get those Slough players, Seb Moore, Christian Moore coming into the lineup, you've suddenly got a bit more like goal scorers. Seb Moore's shown it, so it is tough for them. Their lines are changing quite regularly every weekend, Dan. But hopefully when Leishram comes back, they can get on a
and
bit of a rhythm.
and you do see a noticeable difference when you have those Slough boys in
Yeah, you
there.
do.
Like
Massive difference.
you saw it in the cup in the semi-final
Yeah.
against MK. Like in MK, you saw there was a massive difference in their depth and obviously the point getters as well. So it does make a big difference. And I mean, next season they'll be maybe trying to get those Slough boys on a full-time contract. You never know.
Yeah, but yeah, a big win for Telford. They needed that one. The Peterborough Phantoms then in the second of the double header against the Sharks, and the Phantoms coming out on top again and again. It was a really, really tight game. It was 2-2 going into the final stages, and it was another power play goal, which the Sharks have shot themselves in the foot late on. And it was the guy you talked about, Dan, Jarvis Hunt, stepping up. Getting the game-winning goal on the power play. And we've noticed Peterborough have put him on that top-line power play. Slava's given him that opportunity. And he's just buzzing around in that slot area, isn't he?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
just above the slot. And he's just jumping in on any loose pucks. And I can imagine that was the kind of goal which he scored on the power play as well, because the highlights haven't come out. But yeah, he's buzzing at the moment, and he's really a prospect for Peterborough. Actually, I say prospect. He's wearing a cage at 22. He's got 11 goals, 9 assists, 20 points, which is not too bad considering you'd class him maybe as a depth guy, but he can also play on that power play as well.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's been around Peterborough for a while now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not sure if he has, but has he come up through the Peterborough sort of
Yeah, he's one of them, I
system?
think.
Yeah, so that's really good. And yeah, you were saying about him being in front of the goalie. He's really good at tipping.
Yes.
I don't know what highlights I watched, but I saw he scored a nice tip like between his legs.
Yeah.
They put it across the ice, so he's a perfect guy for that power play. He's not the biggest guy, but he's quite smart with how he does it.
Yeah, no, he
And
is.
he just picks up all those loose pucks, and that's perfect for what you want on a power play. And yeah, he just seems to have fit in really well this season. I think Slava's sort of given that trust to him.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that Slava really trusts, and he works hard, and that's perfect for Slava.
You do get opportunities in that Peterborough team, and you get them as well because they are quite unlucky with injuries. So you are naturally just going to get opportunity. And I mentioned Duncan Spears in the first game. He also got a goal and assist in this game. So I think, Dan, you know what? I'm going to give him Star of the Week, Player of the Week. I think Duncan Spears. You can give it to Brown for scoring loads, or Howler or whatever, or Bricknell. But I think Duncan Spears is one of those guys who you're not going to see every weekend pop up in the point scoring. But he's had a really, really good weekend this weekend.
All these Scottish players love playing well when they go back up to
Yeah,
Scotland.
they do. That's a good point, actually. And be interesting, you mentioned that. Craig Peacock playing for the Sharks this weekend. Will he carry on? His 4-game loan, I guess, has come to an end. But will he carry on? I know
he got a goal, didn't he? He got a goal.
Yeah, he got a goal.
Think, yeah.
In his post-match interview, he said he enjoyed being back. So be interesting. He needs, I think, 12 or 14 games to get 25%. And Solway are in that playoff spot at the moment. So that would be a big player to have in come playoffs.
I could see it happening because I think he wanted it so bad last year.
It's up
the
to
whole
him,
team
though.
wanted it so bad.
It's up to him whether he wants to commit to doing those long journeys. Because it's all good playing in a double header at home, but it's the Romford 6 hours, the Swindon 5 hours. Those are the killers. And when you're 36 years old, 35 years old with the family and kids, that is the reason why he's just gone full-time GM, isn't it? So it'll be interesting. But even if he doesn't, it was nice to see him back out this weekend. The Leeds Knights getting the 4-point weekend. Bailey Hare was back in the lineup. He did get a goal assisted by Padalecki. So Padalecki does get a point for the Pitbulls. So fair play to him. It was a nice little touch. It was one of them where he just tapped. Harewood passed it to him. He did a little tap, and then Harewood did the rest, just scored a beauty goal. So it's one of those typical Harewood goals, and Padalecki gets a point for it. But the Knights winning 6-1 in the end. But I just want to shout out Harry Thomas. Obviously, he was with
100%.
the Bees. and on that two-way, but he's joined the Pitbulls now. And he got given a massive opportunity. I think Barry McKenzie mentioned that Tommy Napier was really ill. And he was really sick. He was throwing up apparently. But he still troopered on that Saturday game. And then on the Sunday, he obviously just wasn't ready to play. So Harry Thomas steps in, 16 years old, in Leeds against the best team of the league the last 3 seasons. I mean, that's some way to make your National League debut, isn't it, Dan? Facing Kieran Brown, Matt Cowlett coming at you, and to only concede 6 goals. I know Leeds maybe would have shut up shop in that third period because it was 6-1 after 2 periods, but he had 51 shots on him tonight, saving 45 shots. That's not bad going for a 16-year-old in there, is it?
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, that is a really, really big moment for him. And I mean, he wouldn't have probably expected that that chance like straight away. Like he's just joined the team and he's heading up to Leeds. But I mean, yeah, that's massive for him. Like 16 years old and he's doing that. I think that's so good. And I mean, it was in a depleted team as well.
I know.
Like he didn't even have like a lot in front of him either.
They had
So
9 forwards because Barry McKenzie was playing D.
yeah, so it's massive for him, and I mean that's an experience and a half, and I hope he just takes that in his stride and
I hope he
really
does.
like grows his game from that. Goes back to obviously the Canucks and sort of grows his game like that. I'm guessing he's going to be training with the
Yeah,
Pitbulls,
good
and
two-way now because they're quite local.
yeah, so that's perfect for him, and it's a great opportunity. And also, we were talking about young goalies, obviously Luke Clark as well for Peterborough in
Oh,
Solway.
forgot about that. Sorry,
Yeah.
Peterborough fans. Yeah, Levine was also very sick. Slava was saying he was throwing up. So the goalies, for some reason, have got this illness
This
going.
is you. This is your fault.
You
You
reckon
passed
it's
him
me?
to the league. You passed
Oh,
it to the league.
I've messed it up. I've thrown it in the universe. But yeah, Levine was he got man of the match on Saturday, by the way. Sorry, we've not even mentioned that. Levine got man of the match on Saturday. He was throwing up during the periods. Fair flipping play. I had to go for a flipping sleep in the car, and I was only watching the bloody game. So fair play to Levine. But yeah, also a massive fair play to Luke Clark coming in your first game in the National League. Up in Solway and getting a 9-3 save percentage, only conceding 2 goals. So yeah, big game for him. And Slava said that he's a very good goalkeeper. He's got a lot of potential. So I rate that giving him in the start. I don't think he had a choice, Slava. But that's one game to come into. Fair play. So yeah, well remembered there. The Romford Raiders, again, really tough. At home against the Steel Dogs, both teams just coming off very tight losses, 1-goal losses. And it was it was the imports from Sheffield who just got the job done. Walker Sommer is just I know we talked about Jake Bricknell having one of the best shots. I think Walker Sommer might have the best shot in the league. He's now got 39 goals. Another hat trick for him. A short-handed goal, which he nearly got in Swindon as well, but this time in Romford, he's obviously took full advantage. I can imagine it was a little pinch, and he's broke away 1-on-1. And then the other two, he scored within 3 minutes. He's small, but he is so deadly, Dan. And his release on Saturday, I can see why he scored so many goals. It's just nasty, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and it's not just his release; it's the way he shoots as well. He doesn't just shoot at a
Disguises
goalie.
it, doesn't he?
He uses the D man every time, and you sort of he makes sure the goalie can't see his stick, and then he'll snipe it. And it's just you can't teach that way of shooting. Like he's just a natural scorer. And I mean, yeah, he's lighting the lamp every single game. Like he's a guy that hasn't really gone through a slow patch.
No,
He's a guy he's just been going the whole year. Like we saw him, he was
He
unreal
doesn't assist either, by the way. He doesn't set up goals. He is the man. He's got
yeah,
three,
he's the
four,
finisher.
five. He's scored in his last 5 games. And in 2 of the games, he's got a hat trick and 2 goals. He is
But
just a joke.
but we saw like in his preseason game in against Leeds, he was still unreal. Like, I think he scored 2 goals in that game or
Yeah.
3 goals maybe.
Yeah.
And I think he actually got a hat trick in
He
that
got a
game.
hat trick, yeah.
And like he's a guy that's just been tearing it up all the way through the year. He's not had a slow patch, so I mean, he might have one coming up, but at the minute, I don't see it happening.
No, it's not happening. He's just 39 goals in 33
I'll be
games.
interested to see how many goals he finishes on. To be fair, I think that will be interesting to see.
So he's got 20 more games. If he keeps this pace up, he's going to have close to 60 goals, which is just
That's disgusting.
absolutely mental. I don't know how many Brown got last season. Did he get 60? He might have.
I think he was. If he didn't get it, I think he was close.
Very close, but yeah,
Yeah.
just bonkers. Yeah, and then Tremblay as well, getting a
Oh
couple.
yeah, he's heating up as well.
Couple goals, yeah. He's definitely that top line was dominant against Swindon, but I thought Swindon actually did really well at just limiting them to those clear cut chances. But yeah, tough for Romford. They've lost their last 5 games now. So really, really tough, and they need to start getting a couple wins together. I think their focus will be on the final, Dan. We've always said they've got to a final, that is an achievement as it is, especially what people thought was happening to them in the summer, whether they might not be there, they might not come back. The fact they're in a final is crazy, and their full focus will be on that. But yeah, they've got to be careful they don't fall into that playoff battle. Yeah, I think they'll be all right though. And also on the final, I'm absolutely gutted. Because the dates for the final got released. I forgot to announce this in the news. It is across a weekend. They have moved the dates of the league games on the double header, which is now the final. Which means I can't go and watch them, unfortunately. Because I'll be at Swindon versus Milton Keynes in the double header. So yeah, I'm absolutely gutted, but it will still be a really, really good 2 games. And I think they're a bit better, Dan, when they are across a weekend rather than a Friday, and then you have to wait till the next Thursday to play the game. So as much as it is annoying that I can't go and watch them, I think it will be better for the final.
Yeah, 100%. And as well as like you say, you've only got that. You literally got a game and then a game, and
Yeah.
that's it. It's not like they're not waiting it out for ages,
No.
and it's also good for obviously getting the crowd as well.
Yeah, it's
Getting the
easier
crowd
to
in on
get
the
it on a
weekend,
weekend, isn't it?
and obviously they don't have to have the late face off going and stuff like that. You can just sort of schedule it as a league game would be.
It's
Um,
5 face-offs on both days, so
yeah,
yeah, there should be sellouts for both of those, and yeah, I'm gutted I can't go, but be 2 really, really good games. But the Romford Raiders need to try and get a bit of form going into that final. So next week's going to be big for them. And then the game I was at, before we go on to the one you were at, Dan, and that is the Hull Seahawks and the Swindon Wildcats. And the Wildcats starting off the game really, really hot. Jake Britnell again, we talked about him. He got another 2 goals. Everything he was shooting was just going in. The first one was actually a freak goal. When you're hot, you're hot. He shot it it hit the backboards, bounced back, hit Zamostra on the back, and went in the goal. So when it's going for you, it's going for you. And then the second one was just a snipe. And then that first period we dominated. I think we outshot them. We had a lot of in the slot chances, and I think we've got to be a bit more clinical. I think that looking back at it, you've got to take a few more of those chances, especially in a building like Hull. But we did get the 3-1 lead in the second period. Ryan Wells again for me with Sobchat was the best player on the ice. He got his goal. He got the third goal, which was really nicely set up by Antonov as well. Ryan Wells was unbelievable. I had a few Hull fans just coming to me and saying, "Yeah, that Ryan Wells is absolute joke." The amount of the way where it looks like a team's going to break out, Dan, where Hull are looking like they're going to have a 3-on-2 before it can even get into that situation of a 3-on-2. Ryan Wells is there with his stick to just poke it away and just stop the danger straight away. So good at reading the play, isn't he?
Yeah, he reads the game perfectly from the back, and he's sort of always a step ahead of every play.
Yes, yeah.
And like you'll see him, he'll jump forward with his stick out because he knows the pass is going to come across the ice. And I mean, and the way he can transition from defense to attack, like he can literally pick the puck out, get it. He can either pass it up or he can skate it up past the red line. And yeah, the way he can read the game is second to none, and probably the best the best defenseman, obviously reading the game wise in the league.
Oh, yeah,
If
100%.
not, if like you say, best defenseman in the league.
Oh yeah, but for me, he is. Anyway. I know there's some really good defense. I'd say he's the best player in the league, but I know the defensemen don't get as much credit because they're not the goal scorers, the game winners. But enough talk of Ryan Wells. We talk about him a lot. I also want to credit Josh Hodgkinson, who stepped in, and this was the first time I've watched him for the Seahawks, and wow, he is really, really, really good. Compared to when I watched him back for Leeds, where he didn't have quite as big a role. He's really stepped up onto those top lines. He was absolutely buzzing both ends of the ice. He got the Seahawks' first goal. He also tracked back as well on Bricknell in that third period and took the puck off him, which was a really nice play. And credit to the Seahawks. I'll say it first, actually. The Wildcats, Malazinski didn't play the second or the third. That was a huge loss. It does seem like he's all right, though, because he was on the bench. Maybe just wasn't right to play. So we were Malazinski down. We were Josh and Dylan down because of the GB, and then Ed Bradley didn't travel as well. So we were quite a few players down, and by the second and the end of the second and the third period, it was all Hull. And fair play to him after having a long game up in Milton Keynes, to come back at home. And still put everything into it. 3-1 down. They clawed their way back into the game. And that third period was just absolutely dominant, Dan. I know you're at the Bees MK game, but you can imagine they were just rolling the top six for the last 10, 15 minutes, just top six straight out, rotating. And Wildcats were doing their best, just rotating, trying to get fresh bodies. I think we only had eight or nine forwards. Wells was just clogging up minutes. And eventually, the Seahawks, with 4 minutes to go, tied it up. Johnny Corneal in front of the goal. It's like the first kind of slot chance they had, because Swindon do so well at just stopping teams have those chances in the slot. But Corneal got the loose bounce in front of him. He backhanded it in. And then it was Seahawks pressure again, and then it was the dagger. It was a really scrappy goal, but those are the ones which win your games, Dan, isn't it? And it was a shot from the point with 30 seconds to go. It bounces around, just bouncing around in the slot, and Svek just gets it over the line at the back door. Nothing Rennie could really do about it, and I was gutted. I was on commentary with Connor for that final period. I'm never going on commentary again. For the final period in Hull, because I think I jinxed it all. No, I'm joking, but fair play to the whole Seahawks. It's such a difficult place to go to, Dan, when they've got momentum and they're just rolling them top lines.
Well, yeah, we've said it before. We've said how offensively strong they are, and they play the game with their offense leading. They don't play it from the back. They play it from the front onwards.
Yeah.
And when they
do that
fight,
at home.
yeah, and they always do it at home. They're always going to do it at home because that's where they feel comfortable playing. But when they feel like they've got a grasp of a game, they're going to keep going with that play. They're not gonna sit back and sort of play it slow. They're just going to keep rotating those lines and just keep that offense going, and they're just going to keep firing pucks at net. They're going to keep the zone pressure in there.
They fired so many pucks on goal,
and they'll just wear you down that way. And when they can see, obviously Swindon, you were obviously saying that they were tired. They can see that
into it, they were shattered.
They can see that, so they're just gonna keep going and going and going and going into the final buzzer. And obviously you saw they obviously got those two goals, and it was always going to be Svek that was going to get that goal as well. It's always a former player that does it to you.
It's always, we spoke about it so many times on this podcast. Sisters last week getting goals against Peterborough, and it was going to be Svek. And I'm gutted for the Wildcats. I feel we deserved a point, just the way we had defended, bodies on the line all night, missing a lot of players, not having arguably our best player, Malazinski, to kill off a game. And I do think if we have Malas, we might be able to kill that game off. But yeah, absolutely gutted not to go back with at least a point. But yeah, credit to the Seahawks. I think that's what I've got to say from this. As much as we did let that lead slip, the Seahawks in that third period were so dominant. So thank you to Hull for letting me come on commentary. As I said, I'm not coming on again. I don't know. We're not going to Hull again, I don't think. But go on, Dan.
Can I just say as well, now you've had Svek score a last minute winner against you. Now you know how I felt when he did it
Oh
against
yeah, in the
Basingstoke in playoffs. Svek loves doing that, and so now you know how I felt. And it was in playoffs, so it was even worse. So
oh yeah,
you've gone through that now. So yeah, good. That's all I can say is good.
it was gutting, and
I'm never letting that go. I'm never letting it go.
but yeah, that was it. As Charlie said, we're not actually too disappointed at this weekend with the Cats. We got a big win on the Saturday. We're unlucky not to get a point on the Sunday. And we've got a really big weekend, obviously, with Leeds. But the final game of the weekend, and this is the one you were at, Dan, the Bees against the Lightning. And everyone was thinking, oh, the Bees did it against the Knights last weekend. Who knows? They're at home. We've said it countless times. It's like a broken record. They're a different team on their home ice, Slough, and I'm sure Will Stead has talked about it on the interview. But the Bees, they were behind, Dan. They were behind, and they just battled back into it, and they got the win, the 4-2 win, and it kind of makes the loss uh, for Swindon not as bad because we didn't actually like lose any points compared to Milton Keynes.
Yeah, and obviously but at the same time, it can be annoying because that means
Because
you
we
would have
didn't
two
gain
points
any.
gained.
Yeah, you've got to look at it
That's
like that as well. I was
that's
frustrated
an
because
annoying part. I don't
that's
want to
the
bring it
one you
up,
can
but
make some points on. Yeah.
and but yeah, I mean, you know what Bees can do in their own rink, and the main thing that they did was they kept it within reach. They didn't let the game sort of go away from them,
Yeah.
and Max Wright obviously is a massive factor in that. I mean, Max Wright doing what Max Wright does, and it's like he just every single game he's going to keep him in it.
I think
And
I've got a splinter at the moment, and it's absolutely killing.
oh,
Sorry, Dan. Carry on.
that's
Max,
not good.
right? Yeah, he deserves his praise at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 56 shots on him in the end, and he obviously conceded two.
No,
And
58. He saved
oh, 50,
56.
oh, save 56. Oh, even better. I mean, he and I mean the defense was supporting him as well. I think we've always said that
Yeah,
about
they've got him.
Bees. They always protect their goalie, and when Max Wright is on it as well, which he seems to be on it every single game. I mean, they've always got a chance, and MK are going to be annoyed because they did have a lot of power play chances. It's a bit of a reoccurring thing with MK.
Yeah.
They sort of struggle on the power play. The fans have been talking about it, how they struggle on the special teams. And then they also get the power play, the big power play chance. They got obviously the 5 minute, and then they give away too many men. So that's a
It's
bit of a
just
kick
you
in the
can't
teeth
do
as
that,
well.
can you?
And you can sort of see it. It was just sort of like they were overthinking it. They were sort of thinking too much about something else, and they just forgot the change, and it just sort of all tumbles from there really. And I was counting their shots on the power plays that they had, and they had two power play chances, and I think they had six shots out over the two of them. And I mean, the players that they've got on that ice on their power play, they've got to be getting more shots off. They scored one power play goal, but getting three shots on a power play, like that's you're not going to get goals doing that. They're literally you can see them doing it. They're passing it into the net. They're looking for those open nets.
Perfect goal, yeah.
They would get like Forsberg on the point. So because now he's on their PP1 now. So you have Forsberg on the point, goes in. You know what you can do with a slap shot. He'll go there for the one timer, open goal, and he'll fake shot it and pass it, and then he'll pass it across the goal, and then Wallace will get the shot, and then he'll pass it again.
And
And it's
oh,
like
and you
they
can
just need a guy on that team that can just
and
finish that shot.
don't get me wrong, you can probably do that on the Milton Keynes ice pad because it is so big. You can spread the play, move them around. But when it's so small, like Bees, and Bees are gonna defend that power play so
They'll clog it
compact
up.
and tight and clog
Oh
it
yeah.
up. Sometimes it's just like Svek's goal was the scrappiest, crappiest goal. But those are the ones which win your games, and I think sometimes you just need to get it in the mixer. And obviously, I wasn't watching the game, but it just sounds like the Bees just put everything on the line.
Well,
Bodies in front of Wright. If Wright saw it, he was saving it. He probably did a few worldy saves as well
glove
to
save.
deny some players. But
He loves
I,
a glove save.
with the depth Milton Keynes have, they should They should be winning that game,
They
but
they
this is
should be winning
hockey.
that.
This is the
Yeah, yeah.
National League, man.
Everyone knows they should be winning that game, but again, you, yeah, I think I haven't seen obviously all the away games for MK, but just being in the rink, you see it, and they really struggled to get into the zone. Like they really struggled, and it almost looked like we were watching MK from last season. You've like I thought they would sort of, which they have. They have got better at that. Obviously, those away games, but last night they really struggled to enter the zone. Like they just looked like they'd run out of ideas, and Bees were playing a perfect game. Like I was saying in the group chat through the game,
Yeah.
they were throwing in those little late checks. They were giving those little slashes behind the play, giving those just a little, not penalties, just little chippy plays, and just sort of getting under the skin of MK. And you really saw the players were retaliating to it. And you had players like Norris. Norris was really retaliating. And I know he got a goal. Yeah, it was a big goal from him. And he got a goal disallowed as well, which was a high stick. There was a few fans that were arguing it, but the stick was literally right above his head. So if it's above his head, it's definitely above the crossbar. Um, but it was just a perfect game from Bees, and they really did what Bees do best. And I mean, bringing Sesenis in, first time I've seen him in Bees, he's a massive impact player as well. When I at the start of the game, I was watching him, and he was sort of trying to do it all, and he was sort of trying to go through guys. He wasn't like passing it and sort of moving around. He was just trying to go through everyone, and I was like, yeah, he's not going to be able to keep playing like that. He's sort of playing with like that ego that we know he's got. But then as the game went on and the big sort of moments, he came up and he obviously scored a nice breakaway to
He
tie it
got
up.
he got that goal, the breakaway goal, which was huge, and then 2 assists as well, and
Yeah, and
assist the game
he
winner.
got the assist on the power play, and yeah, and he's a really big impact guy. And I don't think Louis Allen was on the game sheet, but I don't think he was actually at the game. So
No.
I'm still yet to see him. But and Wilson also went off, obviously injured. Again, Mitchell obviously got a game penalty. That was
Was it bad, was it?
that was quite a rough play. I mean, I didn't see it all, but I saw he must have hit Sisters. Obviously, he's had like concussion issues, and then he went to like jump him on the floor as well. So it could potentially get reviewed. I don't know. I don't know if MK are gonna sort of get it to get reviewed or anything like that. But
I think the
that could,
fives automatically get reviewed anyways.
yeah. So that could be a bit rough. But like I said, I didn't see it all, so I'm not gonna put too much comment onto it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've said it as well in the group chat as well about goalies and about MK starting, obviously getting the number
Yeah,
one
it's
goalie.
confusing, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know if you have Headley in that game, you might get that win because he will make those big saves. But it's one of those things that you just don't know. You don't know what Curlin and Wallace have an agreement about or anything like that. So you can't really talk too much on it. But it was a
Yeah.
perfect game from Bees.
Yeah, as we've said in the past, it's not about what we think, it's about what the coach thinks, and he's
Yeah,
obviously playing curling. But if I think you in this league, pretty much every team has their starting goalie and then their backup, and even Hull now have chosen Zamostra as their starter recently because he's been playing the best hockey. So yeah, but it's just a massive win for the Bees. To knock out Leeds and MK in back-to-back weeks with,
huge.
let's be real, the roster differences are bonkers on paper, but it's not about that in hockey. And just I'm sure the team spirit in Bees, just not, even though they might not get playoffs this year, just these kind of wins, man. That's why they play hockey, isn't it? And me seeing that result after the game, it's like it's just mental, man. And this happened to Swindon. We lost to the Bees. They've defeated the top three in their own place. They are not to be taken lightly. So fair play to the Bees. And yeah, who else is gonna fall into the trap of Slough, eh?
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I'm not sure many people can argue it, but I think Max Wright's got to be the best goalie in the league.
I
I
mean,
think I don't
stealing
think.
games
I
for
mean,
sure.
personally, for me, I think he's the best goalie. I think he's ahead of Gospel.
Wow.
Honestly, I think he is. I think I'm saying it. Like from what I've seen of him, obviously I saw him against MK. I've seen him against Romford. Seen him against Swindon. From what I've seen of him, yeah, I'm saying he's best goalie in the league.
It'd be interesting. Obviously, we can never see that, but it'd be interesting to see what he would be like in another team. who
Well,
maybe
you never
don't.
know what could happen in the summer.
Well, yeah,
You
no,
never
yeah,
know.
of
You
course,
never
yeah,
know.
you never know. But the Bees will be happy that they've got him on the team at the moment, and
Oh yeah,
yeah,
100%.
56 saves out of 58. That is just
But he's
that's.
doing that every night.
I know
He's getting those shots every night, and he's still keeping games within reach.
he's
Like
third
that's
in
the thing.
save percentage, and he's playing for the team at the bottom of the league. It's
He's
just
made the most amount of saves. I was looking. He's made 1,230 something saves, and like I think Napier's made 1,001, nearly 1,100. So like he's like a foot on like 100 above Napier. He's probably on the next most sort of most shots against like team. So yeah, he's just lights out every game, and he seems to be lights out every single game. And if you're going to keep him like that, especially at home, now this is the thing. Now going into this part of the season, Bees are going to be looking at this like at home. We are very much a team to win. Like they're going to be confident now at home. So going into Slough wasn't easy before, but it's not going to be even easier now. Like it's going to be an even harder place to go because of the confidence that they've got.
yeah. And it makes the title race a bit interesting now. Obviously Leeds had their slip up, but it means nothing now because MK have done that as well. So MK are still top with 54 points. But Leeds have played two less games. That will be they will play one of those games in hand on Friday against Sheffield, so that will be one to look out for. But they are 4 points ahead of Swindon. Milton Keynes are on the same amount of games. So Swindon are still within reach. But Leeds can now go to the first spot again if they win their games in hand. But it's very tight. And then Hull, who are just chipping on away behind. They're 8 points behind Swindon with a game in hand. We face them, I think, in 2 weeks' time. So Matty Davies, he said it's a four-horse race. I think if he wins the game on Saturday and Sunday, I mean, who knows? But I think it will be very, very tough. But as I said, if they can get a run like this going towards playoffs, they're going to be one of the teams to look out for. And Peterborough, that 4 point weekend puts them up to fifth, 1 point in front of the Steel Dogs. And then seventh, eighth is Romford, Solway, and then Telford are now 4 points behind Solway. So yeah, the playoff race is heating up because Bristol on 26 points as well. So yeah, still plenty of games to go. I think we've got about 20, just under 20 games for some teams left of the season. And then looking at the statistics and some players down there closing in on that 100 point mark. Sobchak with that 4 point game. I think that was his first 4 point game for I think 4 or 5 weeks now. He's been chipping in with goals and assists, but that was his first big return for a few weeks, and he's now on 74. Miller's on 73, and Britnell's four behind now on 70. And then we talked about Walker Sommer. Well, he's leading the goals at the moment, 39 goals. Gardiner just behind. He did get one this weekend. He's on 36, and then Britnell's on 33. So yeah, very, very interesting. I think if you had to put your bets on, who do you think will get 100 points first? Do you think it'll be Sobchak, Miller, Britnell?
I think it'll be Sobchak.
You reckon it will be?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sobchak.
You reckon Hull will go on a run? I can't argue against that. I predicted at the start of the season Sobchak will be top point scorer. So hey, not a bad little prediction from me. So yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Anything else to add, Dan? I know it's probably been quite a long one with Will Stead's interview as well. We hope you've enjoyed that. I think I forgot to intro that one.
No, I mean Saturday's going to be a huge game for Swindon. I think that's
Yeah,
going to be
Swindon
I'm really
Leeds.
excited for that game.
I
That's going to
think
be really good to watch
I think
as a
if
neutral as well.
if Leeds win that one, and they win Friday as well, I think they can go up to 7 points in front of Swindon, and that is going to be very, very tough to take back. But Swindon did beat them without Malazinski as well back at the start of the season, 6-3 at home. So, yeah, Swindon not an easy team to face at home. We've seen that a lot this season. And, yeah, it'll be another very, very close game between Swindon and Leeds. But, yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please do drop a like, follow our social medias at Macca's Talk Hockey. And we'll be back next week with hopefully another interview. We've got a couple players who I'm not going to spoil who might be hopping on, some big players. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye.